I believe that everybody has a story, and I'm fascinated to hear them. So come with me as we take a walk down Fascination Street. Welcome back, Streetwalkers. Thank you for joining me for part 2 of my conversation with Jason Ritter. In this episode, we continue our conversation and talk about his very unique relationship with the Warning family. We also talk about a couple of his current television shows, A Million Little Things on ABC and Raising Dion on Netflix. Plus, we talk about a documentary project he did a couple of years back centered around Huntington's disease. And finally, Jason tells us what it's like to be a brand new father. So enjoy, folks. This is part 2 of my conversation with one of the nicest guys in the business, Jason Ritter. Yeah, talk to me, yeah. Let's talk about a family. This is not your family. Well, it sort of is your family, but it's a family that's very, very close to you. Can you tell me about Gary, Alan, Wanda, and Dolores? And there might even be a Steve. I'm not sure about that.
Yeah, there's, I know exactly who you're talking about. You're talking about the Warning family, who I've become their, what is it called? The word that's coming to my head is consigliere, but I don't think that's right. I bring them to the world. I translate their lives. I document. I take their pictures and I tell the stories of what's happening to them on my Instagram. They're not real people. They're all just warning signs that I've created little stories for.
Give me an example.
Oh, boy. Let's see. I'm trying to think. Well, I have Gary. I have Wanda. I have their son, Alan. And I'm trying to think of a specific example. I know there's one where Alan was trying to be cool in front of a car full of his high school teenage friends that are girls that he had crushes on, some of them, and he trips in front of their car, and he's very embarrassed about that. He locked himself out of his car one time. There's also Dolores and her sister, Greta, who has had a very sad and intense life that Dolores has tried to make better. They live rich lives, but I can't remember word for word any of the stories.
Well, lucky for you, they're all on Instagram. Everybody go follow at Jason_Ritter on Instagram because his Instagram is 100% full of this.
It's only that. But make sure that if you do that to read the captions, because if you just look, it just looks like a bunch of signs, but the captions are where all the story is. And you look at the pictures and you read the captions, and you imagine that that's what's happening and then you won't look at a bathroom sign the same way again.
Yes, you won't. For instance, I just pulled one up right now. This one is from several years ago. You've been doing this for a while. This one is from April 12th, 2015. Oh, wow. This is, so the picture, the sign is a man who looks like he's sort of halfway between kneeling and standing, and then a woman who is standing but sort of leaning toward him, extending her arm.
Yes.
And the caption says, every once in a while, Gary will be so charmed and overcome by something Wanda does or says that he will have to stop whatever they're doing, get down on one knee like he did all those years ago, and tell her how grateful he is to be in her presence and all the reasons why he is. Wanda is always appreciative, but she also knows that if they wait too long, all the good seats will be taken, and if they have to sit too close to the screen, she'll get a crick in her neck. This too charms Gary, but seriously, come on, Gary, get yourself together. You guys are also going to want popcorn, and it's about to start.
Yeah.
I love it.
Thank you.
Well done, sir. So that's the kind of thing you can look forward to on this gentleman's Instagram, so don't miss out. And I am under the impression that he takes suggestions. You can just message him a photo of whatever stick figure people you find around.
That's true, yes. And I will try to incorporate that into a story.
Rock on.
Yeah.
I love it.
Thanks.
You are welcome. One of my all-time favorite shows was the show Parenthood.
Oh.
Obviously, I was a fan of the film, the great, great movie.
Me too. Oh my gosh, it's one of my favorites.
But then also, There was a TV show called Parenthood that came out right before your parenthood that didn't last very long. It was hilarious, but it was completely unrelated, or so it seemed, to the Parenthood TV show that you were on. Did you know there was another Parenthood?
I remember hearing about that. It was still sort of based on the movie, right? Or it was the same.
Ish, very,
yeah.
very loosely.
Yeah, I remember hearing about that, but I don't think I ever saw it.
It would be interesting to go back and see who some of those actors were, because I'm willing to bet that they went on to be people we know now.
Oh, I bet.
But I loved the TV show, and I had lived in San Antonio for my entire life, and then my wife got a really cool job opportunity, so we moved to Louisville, Kentucky.
Oh, nice.
While we were in Louisville, her job had her traveling back to Texas. So I was basically in Louisville by myself for, Monday through Friday or whatever. So that was a little lonely, and Parenthood actually was one of the things that helped get me through, because I watched it here in San Antonio, and then I watched it when I lived in Louisville. So it was sort of a little bit of a, kind of staying in my own routine kind of a thing to keep me sane.
Yeah.
So thank you for that. I love it. I have since moved back to San Antonio. But thank you for being so great on that show. You weren't supposed to be a regular on the show, were you?
No,
I'm sure you weren't a regular. You were a guest star or whatever.
But yeah, I was only supposed to do 3 episodes in the first season. We did that little arc, and then they had me back. Yeah, and then they kept on having me back, and it was such a dream job that it was just a no-brainer for me. But that was one of the most incredible experiences of my whole life, and also very lucky to be part of that family, almost part of that family. Got into the Christmas picture, didn't quite make it all the way to the end, but it was such a lovely group of people, and to get to come into work and be across Lauren Graham day after day was just a dream come true.
Now, you played the love interest for Lauren Graham on that show, while in real life she was dating Peter Krause, who played her brother.
Yeah.
How uncomfortable was it for you to be pretending, or maybe even, well, I know you weren't really, but how uncomfortable was it for you to be kissing or making out with Lauren with Peter standing there giving you the evil eye?
It wasn't, surprisingly. I mean, because he was directing episodes by the end, and so for the most part, he wasn't around, especially when we were starting out, because he would be in a different storyline, so he wouldn't even be working that day. I'd see a bunch of cast members in passing. If there was like a big group scene, we would all see each other, but for the most part, I was just in a little bubble with Lauren. But when he directed an episode, he's a pro, and their love for each other is so strong, and so, there was no insecurities. I think he just was like, this is the job, and as a director, he wanted to make it as believable as possible, and Lauren's a pro too, and I'm trying to be a pro as well. So that was all very, very normal. Because in those types of situations, all it takes is one strange energy to throw everybody else off and make it weird for everybody. But as long as everybody shows up and is like, this is the job and this is normal within the context of what we're doing, so let's do it, and we'll move on to the next one. It was totally fine.
So you're saying it was a complete coincidence that every time you had a love scene, all of a sudden later you had flat tires in the parking lot? Like that was just a coincidence?
I always thought it was until this moment.
Until this very moment. Son of a bitch. I did mention that I'm in San Antonio, born and raised here.
Nice.
Much like one of your co-stars, actually 2 of your co-stars on 2 different television shows that you're currently working on.
Oh, really?
James Roday is from San Antonio.
Oh, that's right.
His name is James Rodriguez.
Yeah.
We went to school together, and by together, I mean at the same time in the same city, 30 miles apart.
No way.
Well, yeah. So clearly we didn't run into each other. What a coincidence. But, and for those listening, James Roday and Jason are on a TV show called A Million Little Things, which is on ABC, and it's
no offense to everybody listening, but it's the ABC version of This Is Us.
I've heard it described like that, yes.
I'm sure you have.
If you want to get the tissues nearby, I think it's wise. It'll get you.
Yes, that is true. I've also heard it described as the diverse This Is Us.
There you go.
But that show is fantastic. Tell me how you became a part of that show, if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah. Wait, and then you'll tell me who the second person from San Antonio is?
That's correct.
Okay. Just making sure.
Oh, and I would like to say that I'm a huge fan of both of these shows that we're going to talk about, but go ahead and tell me about A Million Little Things.
Yes. So Million Little Things came about. I got a call from DJ Nash. Well, it wasn't so much like that. There were a bunch of calls that happened before this call happened. But DJ, who created the show, called me and basically told me the entire journey of this character, of who we think he is when it starts, who we find him out to be midway through the season, and then we find out what his true story is right at the end. And he's just such a wonderful person, and he has such an infectious energy, and he cares about the show so much. It's really, truly a passion project for him. He just has put everything into it, his whole heart and soul. And so we talked about it, and he told me this whole evil plan that he had to bring me along for. And yeah, after that conversation, it basically was set and going forward. And then we carried out this diabolical plan together.
I will say that, we were watching that show long before you showed up. And when you showed up, the way that they introduced your character, I know they did it on purpose, but my wife and I looked at each other and said, oh my God, Jason's going to be typecast.
Oh, because they think I'm dating.
Yes. No spoilers, but yes.
Yes.
So when DJ Jazzy Nash called you up and showed you this arc, did you know did you know the full arc before you started?
Yes.
Interesting.
It was very important to him. He doesn't give the information to everybody in the show. He likes that the actors are sort of on this journey with everyone. But because I'm playing this character and he thinks I should know what my character knows so that it doesn't come as a surprise to me at the end. Yeah, he told me from the very beginning. And so for months, I had this big secret that I couldn't tell. The lucky thing was, because you initially think I'm dating that character, and then you find out there's more to my story, most of the other actors were like, oh, that's the big reveal. That's the big secret.
And then
I was sort of off the hook for a while. Yeah. Until the last couple episodes, and I was back to sweating and hiding and trying not to reveal anything to anybody.
Now, you can say you don't know, or you can just say you don't want to answer, but are you done with that show?
I'm not in the rest of this season, and I think I can say, because DJ tweeted about it, but depending on some scheduling things, both DJ and I are game to keep going with the character. So I don't know what his plan would be for season 3, but it depends on a bunch of things. And, Netflix was very kind. And even though Raising Dion's been picked up, to let me do that arc on A Million Little Things. And, you never know how it all works out. But yeah, it would be great. It was such a wonderful group of people, Allison and James, and just everyone who works on that show is so lovely.
Well, very, very cool.
Hey, Streetwalkers, here's a word from our sponsors.
Guess what, Streetwalkers? The gear is here. A bunch of you have been asking for quite some time, and now finally it's here. Head over to FascinationStreetPod.com and check out the gear tab. There, you'll find all kinds of FSP items to tickle your fancy. T-shirts, coffee mugs, sticker packs, pins, buttons, coasters, and my personal favorite, for just $5 you can get one of those weird little phone handle pop thingies. So head to FascinationStreetPod.com and show the world that you're proud to be a streetwalker. Special thanks to my good buddy Stephen O'Reilly from the Bar Star Podcast for these dope drum beats. Check out Steve's work at O'Reilly Drums on Instagram or search Stephen O'Reilly on YouTube.
Let's get back into it.
I did mention that there was somebody else that you are on a show with currently who is from San Antonio and still currently lives here. You are on a show called Raising Dion.
Yes.
I had never heard of this show, I guess because Netflix didn't think that that would be something that would appeal to me. But because I follow you and you kept talking about it, I was like, what the hell is he talking about? And so my wife, I was like, honey, we got to check this out. Let's just at least give it a shot. We have a rule in our house that we have to watch the pilot plus one.
That's a great rule.
Yeah, the pilots are always slow because they have to introduce characters and they have to introduce the storylines and build the world. So we always give it at least 2. And so we were like, all right, cool. Well, we'll give it 2. And then we binge watched the entire series, season 1.
Yes. Oh, that makes me so happy. I know it gets hard to stop there towards the end, especially.
Holy shit, I think is what I tweeted at you.
Yes, exactly.
It is amazing. I can't stop telling everybody to watch it. It is phenomenal. I do know that there's going to be a second season, so I'm very excited about that and very curious how that's going to play.
Me too.
But the person who lives in San Antonio plays, I believe her name is Esmeralda.
Esperanza, although
Esperanza.
My character says Esmeralda at a certain point,
Yes.
and the reason that my character says Esmeralda is because in the writer's room, apparently, people kept on making that mistake. It's like our brains are wired in some way where that is a very common, and I even did it sincerely as well, is what I was supposed to do in the thing. But it's just funny that you say Esmeralda. Yeah, Esperanza, Sammy Haney, she is such a treasure. Oh my goodness.
She's great on that show, by the way.
She is so funny, and she's so great on the show. She just recently, I retweeted it, but she and Josiah and Gavin, they did a homemade promo for Raising Dion. They just shot it themselves, and Sammy's dad edited it all together, and it was like their own advertising thing. They're like, we don't need the actual PR firm, we'll just make our own commercial for it. Very sweet.
That is fantastic. So there will be a season 2, and I'm very excited about that.
Yes, exactly.
Tell me what it's like to work on that show. Had you ever heard of because it's from a comic book, right?
It is from a comic book. Yeah, I hadn't heard of it before, but then I did actually remember someone had forwarded or retweeted the short into my feed a while ago, and then I remember liking that, and that was the creator of it. Basically, he was trying to show what the show would be like. Yeah, and I thought that was just so beautiful and so well done, and it is so much fun to work on, almost too much fun. Yeah, I'm sort of sad because I feel like the second season it'll be a totally different experience for me. I had so much fun with Alicia and Josiah in the first season, and I have no idea how often I'll where our storylines go in the second season. Josiah and I would really kind of hype each other up and get super excited and get real high energy, and then we try to reel it back in for the takes, and with varying degrees of success. But yeah, there were many times where I would decide to play a game with Josiah, and he would be throwing fireballs at me, and I'd be dodging and going, oh, you got me. And then it'd be time to shoot, and they'd just say, well, Josiah's fine, but Jason, you are profusely sweating. And now we have to change everything. And we have to take some time to dry off your shirt and dry off your face. Your hair now is wet and down. I'm like, oh, sorry. I guess I can't just run around like I used to.
That is hilarious.
But it's so much fun. Yeah, it was so much fun. I can't wait to go back.
Yeah, my wife and I can't wait for you to go back either. We love that show.
Thank you.
Now, I would be remiss if I didn't at least bring up Gravity Falls.
Ah,
Gravity Falls is approaching cult status. How do you feel about that?
I love that. I love that people are incredibly into it. I myself am incredibly into it. Much like Kevin Probably Saves the World felt like a personal gift for me, for my own enjoyment. Gravity Falls also felt like that. I was like, this is my dream show. I am incredibly into codes and incredibly into secrets and going down in rabbit holes and strange supernatural things. And Alex Hirsch, who created the show, and he knew that I loved all the mysteries, and he would drop little hints while we were recording. And I would go home and try to research and figure it out and try to crack the code. So I'm very excited that it seems like some people have caught up to my level of obsession with it, because there have definitely been a few times where someone's come up and said, "Oh, my kid really likes Gravity Falls." And I go, "Oh, have you noticed that, there in the second season, there's a keyword that's in the back of the background. You put that in, you plug that into the code at the end, and you can figure out." And they're like, "Oh, I just like the characters and I think it's funny." I'm like, "Oh, sorry. I went too deep. I got too far into it." You got to remember, people enjoy it on different levels, but I'm super, super deep into it.
You're all, "Oh, sorry, I went too nerd."
Yeah, on my own show. It's very embarrassing when that happens. But on the flip side, it's exciting when I find someone who also shares my great love for it.
Very cool. Now, you have been in quite a few episodes of Drunk History and even some of the original shorts for Drunk History.
Yeah.
Can you tell me why? And also, where were some of those first ones filmed and why?
So the show is created by Derek Waters, and Jeremy Connor initially directed them and sort of created the whole sort of look and idea of the show. The two of them together are the geniuses behind it. And Derek I've known for several years, just in the sort of the improv and sketch comedy Los Angeles world. He and Simon were in a group together for a while. But Jeremy I have known since we were 6. We were in kindergarten together. He and I were the two guys who dreamt of being stuntmen, and he broke my arm at one point. We would just go outside and get injured and feel invigorated by it. And so when Derek had this idea and Jeremy and he decided to shoot it, they were always kind of looking for locations, because it was just something they were putting up on YouTube to make themselves laugh and see if people responded to it. And so aside from the first one, the one with Michael Cera, the other first internet ones were all shot at my mom's house. The reenactments, not the drunk people. The drunk people, all that stuff was shot at their own apartments or their houses where they could vomit in peace. But all the reenactments were shot at my mom's house, and it's because that's where Jeremy and I grew up breaking stuff like my arms and things like that. So we've been close for years and years and years, and he's also such an incredible guy. And I'm just so incredibly impressed by what they've done. Like, that they took a funny idea and they've created this huge show that's international and that's funny and award-winning, and it's just I'm so proud. And it was exciting to see it like from the very beginning, and then see it grow and grow and grow.
Well, you should be proud to have been a part of it and to help kickstart it and all of that. It's a great show that is going to go down, oddly enough, in non-drunk history as one of the greats.
Exactly. Oh, yeah. It's incredible. And I think because we're all friends, I think in almost every season, if I'm in town, I'll get a call from Derek, Jeremy, and say, "Hey, can you come in next week and play this new character?" And it's just such a fun, wonderful job.
Very cool.
I also get to live out my fantasies of being able to grow a full beard on that show.
You know, that's funny. I wasn't going to mention it, but in high school, you did a play where they had to, burn a cork and rub it all over your face to get a beard. I think you were like 17. Yeah. How old are you now, and can you grow a beard yet?
Not fully. It doesn't all connect. I have some areas that are pretty strong and other areas where nothing grows. It's just a little desert.
That's awesome.
So I keep that burnt cork around just in case I need to fill in some of those spots.
Now, there are some actors where I will see anything they ever do, and you are one of those actors. I'm embarrassed that you have such a breadth of work that I was unaware of, so I've got a lot of stuff to catch up on. But can you tell me, like, what is a project that maybe tons of people don't know about that is one of your favorites that you've done?
Oh, boy. I did a movie called Peter and Vandy that I am really proud of. It was written and directed by Jay DiPietro, and it was based on a play that he had written and he had performed in, and he turned it into a movie. And the dialogue was just so, he's just has such a good ear for dialogue, and it was such a beautiful script about dysfunctional relationship or functional, depending on how you look at it. I thought that was one of the interesting things. We go to film festivals and people would be like, they should break up immediately. They're horrible for each other. And other people are like, that's me and my husband and we love each other so much, but it's complicated sometimes. It's one of those movies where you kind of, just, it is what it is. And people have different reactions to it. But I just thought it was so beautifully put together. It's basically a love story sort of told out of order, and yeah, I'm really proud of that one. And
hit the name of that one again so everybody can go find it.
That one's called Peter and Vandy.
Okay, cool.
That one, and just to rattle off a couple others that I'm proud of: Bag of Hammers, Education of Charlie Banks, and then the two that I did with Mariana Palka. Good Dick was called one, and Bitch. They're both very strange movies, but I'm really proud of both of them.
Hey, Streetwalkers, here's a word from our sponsors.
Hey guys, if you like what I'm doing, click the Amazon banner at the top of the homepage on FascinationStreetPod.com and do all of your shopping through Amazon. Once you click on it and it takes you to Amazon, you can bookmark it or add it to your favorites, and you won't have to go to my site each time. It helps me keep the show going, and again, thanks for listening.
Hey, are you interested in getting from A to B while sitting? At Detroit Bikes, we've got a new product that I think you're going to love. It's a bicycle. It's got two wheels, hence the bi, and the sickle is because it's a cycle that your wheel's going. So this is a product where you've got a seat. You are actually sitting while moving.
Wow.
And, it's as easy as just pedaling, pushing with your legs. So we think that customers are going to love this product, and we hope you'll check it out at www.detroitbikes.com.
www.detroitbikes.com.
Let's get back into it.
Well, I'm glad that you brought up Mariana Palka because I want to talk about a documentary that she did and you were a part of, The Lion's Mouth Opens.
Yes.
My wife and I watched that over the weekend, and it was engaging, heartbreaking, and endearing.
Yes.
I would like you to tell, if you can, I'm sure it's tough, but can you tell everybody about this short documentary?
Yes. It basically follows Mariana Palka, who's a writer, director, actor, through her decision to get tested to find out whether she has the Huntington's disease gene or not. Huntington's disease is a genetic disorder that basically you inherit from a parent. So Mariana's father had Huntington's disease, and it's a truly awful and cruel disease that is sort of described as Parkinson's and Alzheimer's kind of mixed into one. It attacks your body, it attacks your mind. Eventually it will contribute to ending your life early, but it's incredibly gradual and incredibly painful for the family to watch their loved one transform. And it's awful, and it's one of my life goals to eradicate it from this planet forever. But one of the great advances that has been made in the Huntington's disease world in the last 20, 30 years is that they found out what the gene is, which is a huge win, because now they're trying to figure out how to treat it and all that stuff. But they figured out what the gene is. So there was this test that's been around for years and years that you could find out if you have it, in which case you would be able to pass it down to your children, or you don't have it, in which case your branch of the family is completely, it doesn't lie dormant in anybody. You either have the gene, in which case you'll become symptomatic and you could pass it down, or you got the gene from your non-Huntington's disease parent, and everybody in your family is not at risk for developing it later. But because there are treatments, but they're not cures, a lot of people, it's a complicated decision to find out if you have it or if you don't have it. Everyone would love to find out that they don't have it, but because it's not like, oh, you find out you can have it and now you can get rid of it or treat it or something like that. It's an intense decision for a lot of people to make. But as they've made more and more advances and have gotten more exciting treatments and things, people are a little bit more open to going and getting tested. But sorry, I'm going off into the weeds. The movie is just literally takes place over maybe 3 days or something of Mariana just making the decision to go get tested and finding out once and for all whether she has it or whether she doesn't have it. And all of her friends have come together and to support her in, finding out whichever thing, because it's something that's been hanging over her head, since the late 80s, not knowing whether she had it or not. So Mariana made the decision to film it all, and it's caused a lot of people to learn about Huntington's disease. And I didn't know about Huntington's disease really until I met her. So any awareness about it is wonderful. I just, I want everybody to get together and squash it.
Well, I agree. Also in that documentary was Bryce Dallas Howard.
Mm-hmm.
I guess y'all are all a little group of friends. Y'all all went to school together, maybe?
Yeah, I've known Bryce since we were kids. My mom was in Ron Howard's first, his directorial debut, a movie called Grand Theft Auto.
Yes, that's true.
So they knew each other, and then when Ron was on, Happy Days, and my dad was on Three's Company around the same time, they all became friends and would hang out, and I would hang out with Bryce and her sisters and brother. And then we sort of lost touch, and Bryce and I kind of reconnected in college, and she and Mariana became best friends and are still very close to this day. She's a lovely person and is so supportive of Mariana and is a great ally to have in her corner.
I'm friends with Clint Howard.
Yeah.
And I had the wonderful opportunity to not only interview Clint, but interviewed Rance, Clint and Ron's father.
Yeah.
I was actually the last long form interview he did before he passed.
Wow.
He was such a great guy to meet, and I got to talk to him sitting at his breakfast table in that house where he raised those kids, but that was super sweet. But what I was going to say was, I'm sure you're still friends with Bryce, and I don't know if you have seen it, but she made a short film. I can't remember what it's called, but it's sort of about shoes or feet. Have you seen it?
Oh, yes. I haven't seen it yet, but I got to check it out. I got to find it.
She played it at Rance's memorial, and it is phenomenal. You should definitely reach out and see if she'll let you watch it, because it's great. It is really, really good, and I highly recommend it.
She is so talented. It's insane. Yeah, I would love to see that.
That family is fantastic. Oh, yeah, her and you have that same thing in common. Third generation Hollywood.
Yeah, yes, exactly.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, and Rance, I can't remember if he met Tex or knew Tex, but definitely Bryce has told me on a couple of occasions that Rance was a fan of Tex, and one of the reasons Rance wanted to move and become an actor and do this whole thing was because of that. And so, her family and my family have been sort of intertwined for several generations now. And
that's really cool.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I think that's dope.
Yeah, it totally is.
I have kept you for a really long time, and I really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much, Jason.
Oh, absolutely.
2 quick questions before we go, okay?
Yeah.
When you get off of the phone and you go, I'm going to assume that y'all are still engaged, you and Melanie?
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, as opposed to married is what I really meant.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Okay, so when you get off the phone, will you please tell your fiance, Melanie Linsky, that Heavenly Creatures is one of the greatest film debuts I've ever seen?
I absolutely will, and I completely agree. Yeah, I mean, it not only is that such a beautiful movie, but her performance is so sweet and beautiful in it. And I came to that movie late. I already knew her by the time I saw it, and so to see her so little and so young and so talented already, it was so beautiful to see. I feel very lucky.
Well, the way I came to it was, do you remember I told you that I was watching Parenthood after I moved to Louisville, Kentucky?
Yeah.
Well, I was watching Parenthood, and as I occasionally do while I'm watching a television program, I will just do a deep dive on one of the actors or actresses or something.
Mm-hmm.
And I happened to do that deep dive on you that day. And and then it said that your partner was Melanie Linsky, and I was like, why does that name sound familiar? And then I looked at what she did, and I was like, oh, I want to check out Beautiful Creatures. Let's go check that out. And Heavenly Creatures, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so that's how I found that movie was, through I guess stalking you.
That's so awesome, though. That makes me so happy. Yeah, that's probably around the same time that I saw that movie.
Nice.
A couple of years ago. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it really holds up. It's so intense and tragic and beautiful, and oh boy. Whew.
Yeah, there's some twists and turns. And for those listening who aren't familiar with it, this is directed by Peter Jackson. Yes, Peter Jackson, before he was that Peter Jackson. So go check that out.
Exactly. It's beautiful.
It's heavenly.
It's heavenly.
So how is it being a daddy?
It's incredible. I mean, Melanie is the loveliest partner and mother you could ever imagine. She's just such a dream come true, and our little daughter is so weird and so funny, and it's been so exciting to watch her learn and pick up on things, and she's very good at animal sounds, and not very good at sleeping through the night. But
how about the baby? You're telling me about Melanie. How about the baby? What's she like?
Also can make some animal sounds. I'm really in love. She's just such an incredible little baby, and I really love being a dad. I almost can't remember what I was doing before. I was like, I had more time to just, I guess I was just on Twitter quite a lot, or making Vines. I guess I was making a lot more Vines.
That's why they shut Vine down, so you could have a baby.
Exactly. They're like, this guy needs to focus, and he's spending way too much time messing up his hair on Vine. But no, it feels like such a incredible time right now, and I feel so grateful for every second.
The fun only continues. My kids are 27 and 28.
Amazing.
It's just so much fun to watch them grow and help them make the same mistakes you made over and over again.
Exactly. Yeah, I cannot wait.
It's the greatest thing I've ever done. So enjoy it and be a part of it, because it's super fantastic. Jason Ritter, can you tell everybody where they can find you on social media, please?
Yes, on Instagram, you can find me at Jason_Ritter, and on Twitter, at Jason Ritter, just all one word. And you can't find me on Vine anymore because it's all been erased. So those are the only two really that I go on, Twitter and Instagram. So, but I'm there. I do a lot more reading than posting these days, but I'll get back into it. But I'll see it if you say something to me.
Well, everybody reach out to Jason. He does talk back. He doesn't talk smack, but he does talk back. He says hi.
Exactly.
He says what's up. He answers questions. He's very friendly. And then also, just check out his feed, because every once in a while he'll be like, "Oh, is everybody watching this new show I'm doing that Steve's never heard of?" And then I'll be like, "What is this?" And then you check it out, and it's amazing.
Exactly.
So pay attention for cool tips like that.
Definitely.
Jason Ritter, thank you so much for taking the time out of your crazy busy day.
Absolutely.
This took a long time to get scheduled, but thank you so much for hanging in there, and we finally got this done.
Thank you. Thanks for your patience. It was we were so close a couple of times. And it all fell through. But I'm happy that we actually got it done. I almost texted you today, like, sorry, I got to reschedule. Just to be infuriating for 1 second. But
hilarious.
But
my
thank
gosh.
you for hanging in
I would have cried. Well, again, thank you so much, man, and I'll let you know when this comes out.
Perfect.
Actually, this was so long, I might even split it into 2.
Oh, yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
But again, man, thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it.
Absolutely. It was great talking to you.
Thanks, Jason. Have a good day, man.
You too. Take care.
Bye-bye.
As always, thanks for listening, Streetwalkers. And don't forget, follow the show on Twitter at FascinationSTPD, on Instagram at Fascination Street Pod. Follow the podcast page on Facebook at Fascination Street Podcast. And of course, you can always email me at fascinationstreetpod@gmail.com. And if you haven't already, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button and rate us on iTunes. Opening music is the song Magnolia from the 2014 album Intransigence, used with permission from Douglas Miles Clark. Closing music is Apollo from the 2001 album Into the Known by the band Sapphire. Thanks for hanging out with us and getting to know a little bit about our guest. We'll see you next time on Fascination Street.